I've written a lot of books now, and I guess, several books on saints. And I guess what I would hope from them is that someone might pick this up and they would read one of these stories and opens their eyes or their hearts in some way to possibilities of living that they hadn't considered before. In a way, I would rather that people not be assigned or forced to read my book. I'd rather that people kind of discovered it by accident on the library shelf, the way I did with the Little Flowers of St. Francis, and say, gosh, nobody ever told me about this guy. And they go there, do you hear about this guy Franz Jägerstätter, or about Dorothy Day, or St. Francis that they've discovered? And they'd been thinking that there was a particular kind of way of living, or there were certain kinds of options for how a Christian should be. And then they suddenly read this story and they thought, aha, there's another way. What if I were to do that? I think of someone like St. Ignatius, the founder of the Jesuits, whose conversion was inspired while he was convalescing from a war injury and had nothing else to do but to read lives of the saints, which he found boring at first, but found that ultimately kind of inspiring, began to feel his heart stirred. And he asked himself literally, what would it be like if I did what St. Francis did, And he goes off and he starts the Jesuits. I think that, Francis, in a way, had that experience when he just reading the gospel. What would it be like if I lived the way Jesus did, Well, these saints are people who kind of demonstrate for us what that might look like. And if we think we have to go back to, the 13th century or something like that and live like St. Francis, that might be a deterrent. But writing about all these people from all different times, including people from our own time who've taken that on, gives us kind of a mediating image of what the gospel, what the Beatitudes might look like if we lived as if they were true. So I don't write very much about myself, and I don't expect I'll be remembered at all. But I feel as if I'm kind of casting these seeds out there. I don't know where they're going to land, some of them on rocky soil, but there's always someone out there, whose heart is fertile, and is receptive to that, who's waiting for that. And the idea that it could change their life in some way, I can't think of anything more valuable or more important I could do.